With Mr. Angus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for being here, and National Chief. I want to begin. We've lost 3 young people in Pekanjikam this week, the youngest being 13. We've lost a lot of young people, fallen through the cracks. We had Health Canada at our committee, and I asked them about the denial rates of children needing mental health services, and I asked them if they tracked how many times they denied children, and they said, of course they do. And then when we went to try and find that data, they admitted that they actually don't track how many times they deny children or young people needing mental health services. I raise that, Ms. Blackstock, because we have a government that's ignored 2 compliance orders and are refusing to turn over data to the tribunal. How can a government make a financial claim that it's responding to children in need, Indigenous children, if either they don't track the data or they're refusing to turn it over?
They cannot. And as I said, the burden is on the federal government to prove to the tribunal that it has mitigated the discrimination. Without data, they cannot make that case.
Thank you. This summer, the government announced through all their announcements of $7 billion spent on projects this summer. They included tennis courts, flagpoles, $30 billion deficit. It sounds like money's getting out the door. But I notice, Madame Blackstock, you say that we're $155 million short for children, Indigenous children. And Chief Bellegarde, that the feds have only spent 1% of the budget so far on Indigenous needs. The year's chugging along here. What is that gap that they could put so much money out the door and think they could leave Indigenous communities behind?
Just a quick comment. On the $8.4 billion, we are very happy, that start is better than Kelowna. And when I go out to our communities across Canada, what I hear from our chiefs, well, you can't jump up on pedestal, Bellegarde, for that 8.4, neither can live, because we're not seeing it out in the communities. So we're already into the second quarter. So we are trying to work with and put enough pressure as we can to get the dollars flowing so that they do have impacts on the ground, on housing, on education, and in water. That's the big push we have to do, and we've got to push INAC to find more effective ways internally. And a lot of it comes down to the bureaucracy. So we've got to find ways to improve the bureaucracy, to get decisions made quicker. That's one point. On the bigger piece, there's got to be a policy change between Finance and Treasury Board so that monies don't lapse, so that stupid decisions aren't made in February and March. Oh, spend, spend, spend before the end of the fiscal year. That you should change the policy so there's no fear of losing it, so you can carry it over into the next fiscal year. So if it's there for water or housing, it's still there next fiscal year, and you don't make silly decisions before it's terminated. So change the policy.
And Ms. Blackstock, on the $155 million shortfall to Indigenous children, when we have a $30 billion deficit that's being raised?
I think I ended my remarks by saying if you choose not to comply with the law and if you choose not to eliminate the racial discrimination, then what are the children losing to? According to that report, it's flagpoles and tennis courts. And I think we owe children much more than that.
And my final question is that we see that the government is still fighting Indigenous children health care. They spent enormous amounts of money on previous cases to deny children with severe needs to keep their families from getting it. We have a case now of a young Cree girl. Can you talk about the difficulties of families actually taking the federal government to court in terms of getting their rights respected?
In that particular case, a girl required medical treatment so that she could eat and talk without chronic pain. Was assessed by 2 pediatric specialists who said that that was required. It would have cost $8,000. The government of Canada refused to pay that, and they've now spent $32,000 in litigation against that teenager. I spoke to the mom yesterday. She's relying on volunteer legal counsel, and I used my own personal air miles to fly her lawyer out so she could meet with her. That's the balance of injustice. I don't understand as a taxpayer why we didn't spend $8,000 for kids to be able to talk and eat properly without chronic pain. And, I understand the floodgates arguments, but if there's other children out there that can't eat or talk properly without chronic pain, they're welcome to all my tax dollars.